Vedic Monday episode. We talked a lot about the five elements of the cosmos, of course, the six tastes, the doshas, vata, pitta, kapha, the qualities. Now comes down to the tissues. It's very important to know all this the way I'm taking step by step, so you will understand it a little bit more clearly. As a practitioner, this is what we look at, understanding the dhatus and where the issues are happening, as you will see. So the dhatus are the tissues of the body. The cosmos is made up of energy and matter. The doshas are the energy, and of course the dhatus or the tissues are the matter. So they kind of work in hand. And the doshas, the energies, the vata, pitta, kapha, they reside in these tissues. So as a practitioner, we kind of see where the doshas are lying and where they're increasing or decreasing, and thus we can kind of understand where and what is being pacifying or what's been vitiated, we call, where the understanding, so we can help with food, with diet, with herbs, to kind of bring that dosha back into its balance with the other doshas. And these dhatus, there are seven tissues, as we call. They're in the sequential, as I will name them, because they nourish each other as we go down. And you will see, first one is the rasa, rakta. Rasa is basically plasma, rakta is the blood, mamsa, which is muscle, meda, which is fat, asti, which is bone, majja, which is the bone marrow, and shukla, which is basically the reproductive serums or the fluids, the reproductive fluids, the sperm and the ovum. So these are our gross tissues that they nourish as we go down. It's like the rasa, which is of course the plasma, which brings all the nutrients from the food. And basically, whatever food we digest, it gets converted in about a day, in 24 hours, to the nutrients that the other tissues will use. So each tissue goes and gets its nutrients. Like the bones will get the minerals, the rakta, which is where the blood is made, or the blood cells, and those will get in the iron, the vitamin C, all the nutrients they need. So rasa is basically the lymph serum, the plasma. The rakta is the blood. The mamsa is the muscle, of course, the meda, the fat, and the asti is the bone, the majja is the bone marrow. The rasa now, that is nourishment, the rakta, which is the blood, which is circulation, the muscle, which brings basically the body together and movement as such, the meda, which is fat, which is lubricating, which is bringing in all lubrication in the system, in the joints. So if your joints are hurting, that means there's not enough fat, there's dryness, or there's too much fat, there's weight gain. The bone is, of course, supporting the organs together, and the majja, which is the bone marrow, which is basically filling the holes, which is what it does in the bone, in the bone's hollow part of the bone itself. And of course, the shukla, which are the reproductive fluids, they are for procreation. But these also translate not only the body, but also into your mind, where, as you see, this will, we'll go one at a time, just quickly, just to cover, because it's a lot to cover here. So rasa is the gross of all the dhatus, and it's basically formed in about 1 day. So your food, the nutrients are turned into the plasma in about a day. So that's why if there's a problem happening in the blood or in the muscle or in the bone, then obviously it is also happening in the rasa, because the plasma is what's feeding it all. So that's why in Ayurveda, we don't only look at the symptoms, we also go back to where it starts from, and then we rejuvenate the whole body, where giving it more nutrients and making sure all those tissues have access to that plasma. And most of all of these tissues, of course, they're made of those elements, those 5 elements in different composition: the space, air, fire, water, and earth. And this is how they get their qualities that we discussed. In the rasa, when the rasa is high, a person is vibrant, they're healthy, they're strong. The hair is very, strong, oily, soft, silky. The blood, which is forms in 6 days from getting nutrients from the rasa, of course. So in 6 days, you're forming basically new blood as such after your food is digested. And that represents the red cells in the body, of course. It brings circulation because it takes oxygen throughout the system. So understanding all these, makes a big difference where where osteoporosis is not just in the bones. It is happening because there's either not enough blood being made, or the marrow. There's too many air spaces in the marrow, and they're getting bigger, and which can cause osteopenia and osteoporosis, which happens naturally as you age or after 50. Then, of course, is the mamsa, which is basically the muscle. The muscle, of course, supports, it holds the whole body together. It's formed in about 11 days, after digestion of food. Its function, of course, it's the tissues and the organs, bringing them sturdier, holding them sturdier. It's the plastering basically of the whole body, bringing it together. And most of the organs are made of the muscle, of course. All the tissues that you see that make up the organ is the muscle tissue. It keeps our skin smooth. So, having a dry skin not necessarily means it's going to be an issue only with the skin, but it is basically coming from the muscle. And if you're gaining weight, then obviously because the muscle, the fat that you'll see, the fat tissue, it's feeding off the muscles. So if there is more fat on the body, that means the muscle is less, the volume where you will increase. If you increase muscle, you will automatically lose the weight. So for a good way of losing weight is not just controlling your calories, but also working those muscles a little bit harder and heavier with heavier weights. You will see once you increase the muscle size, you will automatically decrease the fat size, because the muscle is going to start feeding, or the fat is going to start feeding off those muscles. So muscles give, when somebody who's muscular, they're defined, they're chiseled in their face, they're toning, so they feel more confident, they have more power, they have strength. That boosts the immune system also. So, not only just weight, but also the mind. It affects the mind. Every tissue affects the mind also. All these are in composition, they're all together. Maida, of course, is the fat. The fat tissue, it takes about 16 days to, change that from the diet, from your digestion of your food into that. And it brings lubrication. And it's mainly located in the kidneys as such, around the kidneys. And it's basically mala, which is its byproduct is sweat. So sweat is very much directly related to the fat content. Of course, the more you sweat, the less the fat is going to be on the system. And of course, the fat is made of earth. Definitely, there's a lot of earth and fire. So if somebody's gaining weight, and I would see that, so I would try to increase the fire element within them, because that will reduce the size of that fat. And this is how we gauge and understand where and how which dosha is basically off balance. Asti, which is the bone, of course, that brings structure, it brings support. It's formed in about 21 days. It gives the whole body some shape. It is where it brings pleasure, happiness in your mind. And then we have the majja, which is the bone marrow, which is where the red blood cells are made. And this is directly related to your air vacs, the secretions, the fluids in the skin, and the feces as such. And the last, of course, is the sukla. Sukla is the reproductive serums. This increases immune system. It gives us more vitality and vigor and such. So increasing those also, not for just sexual purpose, but also to give vigor to the body. And there is vigor, then there is going to be good and high immune. And that's where we're lacking in some aspect, I guess, in this scenario with the COVID, where we all need to different ways where we can boost and keep our immune at a peak level. So I hope that was pretty quick. I mean, there was a lot to cover here, and there's more in details. You'll see that on my website, on my blog. But these are the 7 dhatus, and we'll be covering the 3 malas, which are basically the waste, the sweat, the urine, and of course the feces, which are very important in our daily lives also, and in every disease formation. So we'll be looking at the next Vedic, Monday. This Wednesday, we'll be taking a look at all the immune supplements that we have that we can use in this pandemic, what we have seen research and done. So, and some of the formulas that I have kind of created myself and over the years because of flu, influenza, and things like that. So we'll be looking at that on Vedic Wednesday. Please give us your comments below if you have any questions, and follow us on Instagram. I'll be doing a lot of interviews with different people. So thank you so much for joining in. This is Cosmic Mike signing off.